Amen. All I can say is the temperature of this room is awesome right now. I know y'all are all freezing, but from a teacher perspective, I'm living my best life today. It's good stuff. How's it? I hope we're doing good. If you haven't been to one of my classes, welcome, Robert Sane. Glad you could be here, sir. You want to sit up front? If you have not, don't come all, dude, I'm going to spill coffee where you better go. Dude, that's awkward, man. See, I pulled that on myself, too, trying to be funny. If you have not been to class yet, hold on, let me slow down and get logged in real quick, because that would be bad. What? Okay, hold on. It's coming now. My computer's not working right now, but it'll come. If you have not been to my class yet, we're doing major meals in the book of Luke. So we studied, who can tell me? We've had 2 meals. Somebody tell me what meals we've studied so far.
Feeding the 5,000.
Feeding the 5,000. On a scale of 1 to cool, like that's a pretty cool meal, right? Like I love the feeding of the 5,000. I just think it's such a neat story. And then last week, who can remember what we did last week?
Levi's house.
Levi's house. Anything stand out or significant that y'all wanted to touch base on with that? We're going to try this one more time. Come on, baby, don't do this to me. We're in, I think. I don't know what's happening, y'all. Like, my computer's just doing this circle of death spin. I can freestyle if I have to. It'll be all right. So, our next meal is actually one of the more shorter meals we got from this study. So, y'all help me with this meal because I need some input from you guys. But before we jump into it, I'm reminded of like a conversation I had with a friend of mine years ago. Probably 15 or so years ago, we were part of a church plant in inner city South Nashville. And I remember some guy told me, because we were having just a hard time. It was just, you know, it went through seasons. And we were in a season of, I felt like the kids were just being punks. And nobody appreciated me. Not that that matters. But, you know, you just get down on yourself. And I remember talking to an older friend of mine who had been in ministry forever. And he goes, Adam, mission work when done well is very messy. It's dirty. It's hard. And I had to kind of back up and think, there's a lot of truth to that. So just throw out ideas on that. When you hear the idea of like when mission work or ministry is done well, it's messy. Agree, disagree, or any thoughts you guys have on that? I want to hear from you for a second. Maria Coggins was shaking her head. So tell me why. Talk about it real quick. Well, and pray that I get into my computer because I'm starting to have a panic attack without doing it. But
I realize I need to be on the prayer request.
Yes. All right. Keep going. Maria, what do you say?
Yes, it is messy.
Why?
Because people are messy.
Okay. People are messy. And including us who, like, all of us. Not just I think a lot of times we think, well, we're going to go bless these people. Like, no, it's not always like that. Any other thoughts on, like, that idea of mission work is messy or ministry is messy?
I think when done well, you have to meet them where they are.
100%. Do you got an example of doing that?
No, I've never done it.
So you don't know if he's joking or not. That's what I like about him because it's very dry, like almost like Michael Scottish. You know, I always go back. We used to call them badges of honor, right? Like we worked with, there was 2 girls that I spent more time with, Megan and Caitlin, these 2 little girls that grew up. If you guys are familiar with the fairgrounds in Nashville, anybody familiar with those? Prior to the floods, you remember they flooded? There was a trailer park across the street from the fairgrounds. There was more meth being produced in that trailer park across the street from the fairgrounds, I promise you, than anywhere else in probably the continental United States. And Megan and Caitlin lived in that trailer park. And these babies wanted to go to church every Sunday, every Wednesday, and anytime we did anything. And I knew their home environment, so my goal was to take them out of their homes any chance I could. So we had a bond. They were 6 and 7. By the time we moved to Murfreesboro, they were probably 12 and 13, like older, and so we got to watch them grow up. But I'll never forget Sarah's first badge of honor. That's my wife. For a week, she'd be like, Adam, my neck is itching. Can you look at my neck? I'd be like, baby, your neck is fine. Quit scratching it. It's red from you scratching it. Then like a day, my neck is itching. Will you quit scratching your neck? It's itchy because you keep scratching it. And then her sister came over who has blonde-haired, blue-eyed girls. And she said, hey, will you look at the back of my neck? And she said, Sarah, you have the worst case of head lice I've ever seen in my life. And we spent 3 days combing head lice out of her hair. And she was so sad and so mad. And I remember thinking, dude, that's a badge of honor. Like, you got head lice because you're loving Megan and Caitlin. Because literally, you could see the head lice crawling on their head. And we used to look at it as a badge of honor. And I jokingly say that. I know you've had opportunities where you've been in those situations. But when you put yourself in those situations, you got to be willing to get a little messy. You know, I remember kind of one of the strangest conversations I had was in the J.C. Napier projects in Nashville. And I was talking to this family. We had another family that would come these kids came all the time. The parents never came. That's what we were trying to get. And I remember I was talking to a mom, and there was roaches just running up and down the wall. And every time, I got ADD, y'all. You pay attention this while I'm teaching. You're going to be like, dude, he's so easily distracted. Vicki Kennedy worked for me. Like, I got ADD, and I'm like, a roach. You know, like, that can't happen to me. And so I realized I keep looking at the roaches on that wall, how disrespectful of me. You know, and so I had to just sit down in the chair and move on. But it, you know, it's times like that where you realize, man, ministry, when effective, is messy. And we need to do it that way. And that's what Jesus did. And I think Jesus did ministry well because he was all up in everybody's life, right? And if you've ever gone on a week-long mission trip, it's an awesome, awesome thing. But if you ever live in like a moment where you're just doing ministry all the time, it's even better, right? Because it just becomes a lifestyle. And I feel like that's what Jesus did. Any thoughts on that before we kind of get into this first meal? Any other ideas or thoughts you got? Do you think as a church or as like a faith, we do a good job at this ministry? You said
something else that made me think this. You're on the threshold, or maybe you're like in between the friction plates of the spirit and the human, and you're in the space where like you're most recognizing that the world is broken. You're dealing with humans, and you're dealing with spirits.
Yeah.
And I guess you're kind of on the front lines of the spiritual war, and I think that you see like how bad it is, like and can't understand. Like it's hard to reconcile that opposition.
Man, and I tell you, I need to do a better job of that because I used to be the most positive person ever. Like, I'm very positive. But more and more every day, I'm like, Lord, I just need you to come back, man. But that's not the way I should be, right? Like, I see all the sad and horrible, and I'm just like, just come back, man. I'm so ready. But that's not the way I'm in. And you were shaking your head. I want to hear what's on your mind. You right there. What's your name? Tamara, what are you thinking about? You kind of gave a sideways shake. Oh, I do, man.
I'm kidding.
I do want to know.
No.
If you had a good thought, share it. But if not, I may have misread your facial expression.
No, I think right now North Boulevard is on a different season
Sure.
than we've ever been before. There's always been people like David and Maria that, have done an excellent job at that.
Mm-hmm.
But some of us that have been petrified are beginning to get maybe a little bit more comfortable
Good.
with it and have ways or being taught different ways to do that. So I think it's a better time right now than it has been.
Well, and I think I've learned in my experiences, there's so many good people that want to bless others. They just don't know how to do it. Like they don't have the opportunities to do it. And I think that's the hard part, man. When you got people that want to do this stuff and you're like, well, how? Even my dad, y'all, like he's 80-something, 82, and he's not a Christian. So add that to your prayer list because he's old and we want him to get baptized and become a Christian before too long. But he's not the most sensitive man. Like he is not sensitive. But I remember, I lost my train of thought because I was like, what did you say right before that? Bring it back to me one time.
Me?
Yeah. Why did I talk about my dad?
We're on a different threshold that we're going to do a better job than we have been.
So I got it. So my dad was saying, I was talking about a situation in my school because I work at Mitchell Nilsson. We have a lot of needs, and I was telling him a situation. He was like, I want to help. And I was like, you do? Like, I never heard him. And he said, I just keep looking around, and I realize I'm older. I have all this. We have money now, and I just want to help, but I just don't want to throw my money away. And it's like, I feel like there's a lot of people that, whether it be financial or time, we don't know how to help. And so I think the way you get that is you got to be all up in people's lives.
I've been somebody like a maid or something, $20 that's in the hospital that I know needs money.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell them it's from God.
Yeah.
Then I run.
Yeah.
You know, I don't do anything after
Mm-hmm.
that. And so, you know, I give out all kinds of things. It's just a God thing.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, I run.
And a lot of us do that, you know, and I think, because what do you do next? Like I did, hey, I helped Robert Sane out, and now I'm done, right? And it is hard. It's easy to sometimes just give a little money, but those relationships are what matter, you know? And I think there's just a great opportunity. And I always say, like, y'all, go to North Boulevard, and if you look around, it's a pretty wealthy group of people. But I could throw a rock and hit some of the poorest people in Murfreesboro. And we can't lose sight of that. There's opportunities. Anyways, that's not the point of this lesson. Any thoughts before we get into reading? Great comments.
Adam,
Yes, ma'am.
we know, but if we really know, our brokenness, our sin, our problems might be different,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not different in God's eyes.
Yeah.
And I think we have a hard time not seeing their sin or their brokenness different than we see ours.
Which is see, Vicky used to work for me, and we talked before, like the perfect intro into this meal, because that's what we're going to see. It's like, it's so easy for me to walk down the street and see somebody that looks very different from me, that probably lives a different lifestyle to me, to be like, that's a sinner. Well, I wouldn't do that. I don't do that. But it's easy to see it, right? But like when I look at Mr. Dare Bear, like he's all clean cut, got his hair like, his may look, that's a bad, I'm just we played pickleball together. He beat me one time, maybe, probably not. But you know, it's easy to see it when it doesn't look like us, right? I think we all get that. Any other thoughts? Great comment, Vicky, and that's what we're going to read about. Any other thoughts before we kind of jump in it? The meal today happens at a Pharisee's house named Simon. Does anybody remember who Simon the Pharisee was? Do you remember this story before we get into it? Do you remember anything about Simon the Pharisee? Well, let's read about it then. Turn to Luke 7:36. And the meal we're studying today occurs at this Pharisee Simon's house. He invites Jesus to a large meal. And I just want you to pay attention to some of the things that may happen or may not happen at this meal. We're going to start it slow. I'm going to read 36 through 39. Oh, and it says, when one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to have dinner with him, he went to the Pharisee's house and reclined at the table. A woman in that town who lived a sinful life learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house. So she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume. As she stood behind him at his feet weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured perfume on them. When the Pharisees who had invited him in saw this, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is. She is a sinner. Vicky Kennedy, was that pretty much what you just said? Pretty much, see, I told y'all. I got a lot of questions. Any thoughts y'all have on that? We've heard this story before. Anything that comes to mind before I ask my specific questions?
I think if you think about it, it's a custom of the day that how they ate was much different than what we would eat at a table today.
Yeah.
But it immediately says Jesus is reclining. So he's comfortable. He's already come into a sinner's house, and yet he's comfortable. He's not, he's not antsy. He's not thinking, oh, how am I going to, make this point across or whatever. He's just relaxed and he's comfortable.
He's at the meal, enjoying the meal. Right? He's there. He's all in. And again, like that's what Jesus did. I don't think, we know, was he a fan of the Pharisees? We know like he was not. But here he is comfortable at this man's house because he was invited to a meal. And Jesus wants to save everybody. Like he wants everybody to have that relationship. So he's not just going to go to the woman's house. He wants everybody. So yeah, but he's comfortable. He's got invited. He's comfortable at this house. Any other things stand out or thoughts you have? Vicky, I can tell you're about to say something. Go for it.
I think, I don't know, it reminds me of a prayer that I heard. Like, you know, be with the person who knows they need you the most, and be with the one who thinks they need you the least.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty cool thought.
I've always wondered how she got in. I
Yeah.
was just thinking that too, because if he's so anti-her,
Right.
let her in her house.
Right? And I think about this too, like, do you ever just stop and really try to close it? And don't do it right now because it might make the class a little weird for me, but just close your eyes and like picture things like this. Like picture that meal. It's hard for me to culturally. Have you ever tried to eat while you recline? It's not enjoyable, dude. We got like a Chase Lounge we bought, and I tried to eat cereal last night on it. It's not comfortable. I'm not kidding, I did, because we had volleyball till 9 o'clock, and I ate cereal watching football in the Chase Lounge and spilled it. I don't like to recline and eat. But they did. That was part of the culture, right? What other things are significant that may or may not happen? And I think what I was saying is, every now and then it's just kind of fun to picture it. Like, what was that like? A woman crying so hard she had enough tears to wet his feet. Right? What did it smell like? A whole jar. Like, I have a dude that works at my school who wears a lot of cologne. I do. I love the guy. But every now and then I'm like, buddy, you got to back it off. A whole jar of alabaster perfume washing feet. Like, what did it smell like? Was it like a soft smell? Was it a very I mean, I think about that kind of stuff of like, I wish I could have been there to just experience it. Because it's a weird kind of unique story, right? Anything else?
I think he was so comfortable because he's playing chess while they're playing checkers.
Uh-huh.
Like he sees the room. He knows what's going on.
Yep. And he knows she's there somewhere.
Yeah.
And we don't know, one question I had is, what do we know about this woman? Robert, what do you know? Anything about the woman?
She was just like everybody else.
She's just like everybody else in town. I wrote down, Luke described her as a sinner. So probably like everybody, right? That's how she was described, a sinner. You can take a whole lot. Y'all want to guess what she did? No, we won't do that. But she was probably not living the best lifestyle.
It was public, whatever it was.
Public. People knew about her. All right, what else? Do you notice what social conventions do you think got broken in this meal? Because it's funny because the Pharisees are very much like, hey, we got to do things this way, this way, this way. They're by the books, right? Not by the heart, by the books. Nothing was by the books in this meal. So what else do you notice might be kind of off?
She wiped his feet with her hair and
She-
then kissed his feet.
She's cleaning his feet with her hair. Yeah, it's weird. What do you think? You're important. Come on, tell us something. I'm just kidding. Somebody else. What else you notice?
So I wonder what she did that she could afford. It's described as a beautiful alabaster jar filled with expensive perfume.
And how significant was that jar of alabaster perfume to her?
Right.
You know, like, was that it? Was that what she had to her name? We don't know. But I can't imagine, and I tried to look it up. We don't know how much it cost, per se. But it was significant to her.
It was significant enough that they described it as expensive.
Yeah.
So it had to have been
Right?
very expensive.
And
Could have been the Pharisee's wife. Snuck in.
Yeah.
Early invited. Wasn't supposed to be there. Walked in, saw the jar sitting on the.
oh yeah.
I'll use that.
Huh? We don't know. Robert's saying his claim that she was a thief. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, she was already a sinner.
She was a sinner. What does it matter? Yeah, just keep doing it. No, we don't know. I mean, it's all that.
More of a borrower. In
Boy,
this
yeah.
situation.
And it was a situation where, well, we're going to get into it. I don't want to jump ahead. But there was a lack of hospitality. Go ahead, sir.
I guess part of that could be the fact that obviously it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Because they didn't go into detail. It
Yeah.
wasn't necessary. They
Good
didn't feel
point.
like it was necessary, so
Good point.
she's a sinner, you're a sinner, anybody's, I mean, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Why would a Pharisee invite Jesus? I mean, why would, invite Jesus to the house?
All right, that's a good question.
They're not friends.
Why did a Pharisee invite Jesus to his house?
Just
Fight.
catch him in a trap.
Catch him in a trap? What else you think? Is there anybody that hey, I'm big. Maybe I've just grown. I always try to assume positive intent. Just kidding. Does anybody, what'd you say? He was curious, maybe. Now, y'all probably, what's that one show everybody watches about the Bible? What's it called? Chosen. I don't watch it. But I'm guessing Simon's in there, and it's probably really cool. Is there a scene with him? I don't know. No?
Always mentions my name.
Okay.
So they knew it.
Yeah, that's true. This is the only time he's mentioned by name. This is the one time we get of Simon. But he could have been somebody that's just not talked about that they knew. Like he's a leader in the community. A lot of unknowns with him. How do we know Jesus felt about the Pharisees? I'm going to read Matthew 23:25 really quick. You don't even have to turn there. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites, you clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. You know, Jesus all along has been like, hey, don't be like these Pharisees that are so worried about the outside that the inside is rotten. Because he saw it. You know, and I think that's something from our perspective we need to be aware of, right? Like if we're looking at the characters in this Bible or in this lesson, and which one are we closest associated to? Well, we're not we are sinful, but we're probably not the woman. We're probably closer to the Pharisees. Hey, we're religious, y'all. We know rules. Like I don't ever want to be a Pharisee, and I worry about it because I don't think they wanted to be that way. But man, they were so focused on the outside that their inside was just terrible. Go ahead, Trish. No, you made a sound you have to talk. No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing. All right. And it looked like she was trying to talk. All right. Anything else before we read?
I'll have to admit on something similar to that, especially as a kid growing up. I focused a lot on that from tradition in church. That used to drive me crazy because it used to, that was more Pharisee than anything.
Yeah.
When you go to different small churches and things like that, they're like, they won't listen.
It's easy to get really just lost in that world, right? Well, that's where your focus is. You know, I became a Christian at 24, went to Brentwood Hills. Walt Lever was the preacher there. Y'all know Walt Lever. That's my boy. I always say, he's my preacher. Because for 3 months, he was only speaking to me. I feel sorry for everybody else in the stands. I promise y'all. It was like whatever I needed to hear that week, that's what he was talking to me. So me and him have this bond forever. But I'll never forget him standing up in a sermon and saying, I'm terrified I'm a Pharisee. And I thought, no, Walt Lever, you're like the greatest person I know. And he started talking about it, and I thought, y'all, we got to be really cognizant of that. Because it is easy, what he was saying, to just stand up on our ivory tower and is that a hand up? No, okay. I just want to make sure. I don't want y'all to be scared that I'm going to make you talk. Because then everybody will stop coming to class. Huh? Yeah, I'm for real. I'll stop. If you can make eye contact with me, I won't call on you. All right. Let's go to verse 40 and let's see. Yeah. Jesus answered, Simon, I have something to tell you. Tell me, teacher, he said. 2 people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed him 500 denarii, and the other owed him 50. Neither of them had money to pay him back, so he forgave the debts of both. Now, which of them will love him more? Simon replied, I suppose the one who had the bigger debt forgiven. You have judged correctly, Jesus said. All right. Any thoughts or noticing smart remarks before I get into my questions? Why do you think he begins by saying, Simon, I have something to say to you? Where does that come from? I was like, hey, Simon, I got something to say to you. I think that's interesting.
I think it's interesting Simon says, go ahead, teacher.
Okay.
He's got respect for Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, he has that.
He does. Go ahead, teacher. Jesus has, it's kind of like from the feeding of the 5,000, like right away somebody said, master to Jesus. Before we know anything else, we know there's a relationship there.
But when I heard it, I saw sarcasm.
Okay, why?
I don't know. I think this is why Jesus sees him across the room with this smug look on his face.
Yeah, right? So did he...
I got something to tell you. He's like, tell me, teacher.
So
that's how I heard it.
The scripture right before that was 39. I was very specific for when I saw it. When the Pharisee who invited him saw this, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know who's touching him and what kind of woman she is. Jesus replied to him, Simon, I have something to tell you. How do you think Simon felt, y'all? What would you have done if, like, in your mind you invited Jesus over and you're like, dude, I don't want to keep calling on the same people, but like...
It's kind of like when you make eye contact with the teacher.
Yeah, and it's on, right? Like, Simon, I got something to tell you. Do you think Simon knew that he was knew what he was doing?
A kid being
caught.
Right?
Or something. He caught it, and then Jesus called him out.
Which is so interesting to think of, because these Pharisees, they were the big dogs, dude. Like, he was probably older and had like that fancy dress. Not dress, but dressed fancy, you know, like, I don't know. And for him to be like, yes, teacher, you know, it's interesting. Anything else? I think there's a lot there.
It shows him being a good teacher.
Yeah.
He knows the right questions to ask.
Mm-hmm. He's the best teacher, man. Knows the right questions to ask. What about this? You ever paid attention to Simon's reply? He said, which one will love him more? Simon replied, I suppose the one with the bigger debt. I kind of read that as like Simon feels like a little child. Like, I suppose it's just the one. Like, you got me. I'm good. But that's how I read it. Anybody see that different, or any thoughts you have on that?
Well, I imagine because they seem to always be after each other. That he was trying to be very careful how he said it because he's afraid he's just stepped into his own trap.
Yeah. They were always trying to catch Jesus, right? But Jesus always just kind of turned it right back on him with just scripture. No? Anybody else? Any other thoughts? All right, what about? Let's keep reading. We got one last section in here. 44 through 47, or a few more sections. Then he turned towards the woman and said to Simon, do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman from the time I entered has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she poured perfume on my feet. Therefore I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, as her great love has shown. But whoever has been forgiven little, loves little. Wow. Thoughts? Do you kind of wish you were there? I wish I'd have been there for that. I just think that's really cool. Any noticings you have from this? I'm going to be quiet for a second. Let you chew on it.
I always think it's interesting that he looked at her while he was talking to Simon.
Right? Why do you think that's interesting?
Well, there's some compassion in that,
Mm-hmm.
that he's looking at her, but then he's like, Simon, you did all this other stuff. You should have been hospitable to me. She washed my feet. Whether or not he washed his.
It almost feels to me that Jesus used Simon to get to that woman.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, because that didn't happen ever. Jesus used this important man of significance to get to some woman without. Dude, that's pretty cool. What? Yes, ma'am.
It may not be an accident that he continues to use his name. It's kind of like he doesn't quit with him.
Yeah.
He continues with them, you know, over and over and over. So lets us know maybe we need some stamina when we're doing it to stay with it. So maybe his name's repeated over and over, so you know that's what he's doing.
Yeah. And what is he pointing out about with what he's saying? Just kind of pointing out the comparison between this woman and the Pharisee, right? I don't know.
I think it's interesting that he quantifies both of them. He's like, you didn't do the bare minimum, but she did this, and you didn't do the 3 times. And on 3 different occasions, he pointed that out.
Yeah. Like literally, the bare minimum was culturally the cultural, like, not acceptable, but like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like culturally, the custom you're supposed to do, right? That's the bare minimum. And Jesus is like, hey, you didn't even do this bare minimum, but she cried tears and wet my feet. Like, you didn't wash my or whatever, but she poured alabaster perfume all over my hair. Like, no, she didn't do just the bare minimum. She went to the extreme. Quite honestly, and I say that, picture being at this meal. I think it was weird. I do think when she was sitting there crying at his feet and washing his feet and pouring a whole jar of alabaster perfume, that was not, weird's the wrong word, that was not common. Probably people stood there and were like, this is interesting.
But it was not by accident.
It was not by accident. Maria, you got a look on your face. Push back. What are you going to say? It's okay.
Well, women weren't really accepted anyway.
Right?
They just meant it.
So everybody watching this, would you agree with me that everybody watching this thought it was, can I say a little weird maybe? So,
Major slap to Simon's face that he was getting compared to a woman.
right?
And that she was better.
It's bizarro world.
She makes me a great woman.
Makes me think that she was already a servant in the house. And that she was
Interesting.
Showing a higher level of servanthood than her master or her employer. My wonder is, what does the next day look like for her?
Right?
Like, she lose her job over the whole thing, or is she?
Even if she didn't work there, what does the next day look like? Because she basically came in and she didn't punk the Pharisee, but he got kind of punked, right? That's the best way I can put it. What else? Good comments. I love it. Any other thoughts?
Well, everyone knew her.
Yeah.
And then they, back then, she was unclean to them. So her touching Jesus was something that they would be like, that's why he commented what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Does he not know who she is? Or?
Yeah. And how cool is it that even that idea, but what's the story? I don't want to mess it up, but the woman who touched his cloak, right? And he's like, who did this? Just the idea that she was willing to reach out and go for it. Jesus was in awe of her. Like, that's all. What does that tell us? Like, what does Jesus, he wants us to chase after him like that and just reach out, right? It's pretty cool.
How truly genuine was she, I wonder?
Why do you say?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like a woman that gets pulled over running 75 and a 50, and she may pull her skirt up a little bit and start turning on the tears.
All right, so he said maybe she's just trying to woo Jesus in the...
Don't kick me out of class.
I got to comment. So here's my thought to that is like, police officers may be wooed by that, but I don't think Jesus is, right? Like, he knows the heart. That's the truth. Like, I think it's real. Like, I think this is a woman that wanted to demonstrate she loved Jesus, and this was the best and only way she knew how. And she broke societal norms and maybe broke laws. Like, probably she broke some laws. You can't just go into somebody's house to sit and cry and wash his feet. Beautiful.
Well, she was either very good at what she did, considering the Alabama.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or, which would have made it more of a prominent thing for her to go in and, maybe more problems for her. Or she gave all she had.
Yeah.
And, that has a different circumstance.
Yeah.
So either one of them has.
Showing something, right? Yeah. One thing I think is Jesus is making the need that, hey, it's okay to be forgiven, right? Like, we need forgiveness. If you don't think you need that, like, we need to go back to reading our Bible from the beginning, because we all need it. Like, I need it more than anybody in this room. I promise you. And I'm okay saying that. But it's hard to in today's day and age to kind of confess our brokenness, right? So, and again, I ask these questions. I really like North Boulevard, so don't look like I'm trying to get. Do we have a culture where we do that? Where confession is comfortable? Where this guy could come to me and be like, hey, Adam, I saw you doing this. Let's talk about it. And I confess my sins, or I'm open about it. Do we live in a society where that's allowed? In a church where that's allowed? Or maybe it depends on who you're friends with. What thoughts?
I think that's the key. I'm picturing not just Jesus. There's three people in the story: Jesus, Simon, and the lady, right?
Yep.
There's a room full of people. I'm the room full of people, and everybody's sitting back along the wall going, "Oh my goodness, what is she doing?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then, he called Simon out. And then everybody in the room got served a dish of crow.
Yeah.
They're all going, I can't believe she's doing that. And then he said, she's forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like, at the beginning when I said, I've never met somebody where they are, like, I'm the guy in the back of the room going, this is weird. What
Yeah.
is she doing?
Well, and that's a good thing I could have done next time I teach this. I may say, like, who are you in this scenario? Are you the woman? I mean, I don't want to say we're Jesus, but are we the Pharisee? Are we one of these outsiders just watching, enjoying a pretty cool show? And if we are one of those outsiders, what does that need to look like? What happened to their lives? Well, I know this woman's life was changed. How was their life changed? And maybe that's why one of the reasons Jesus did it. Good comment.
You think it's interesting to me that you never hear anything else about Simon after this conversation. Doesn't say he repented, doesn't say he snuffed his, he said to himself this or this. So, you have to think, was he changed at all? Was he truly the Pharisee that thought he was so high and mighty that he just never did get the point? And so, it mentions the crowd here that you hadn't gotten to yet, but it never says another word about it.
Yeah, it doesn't. It does not. This is the only, and he's important enough where we talk about a meal at his house. But this is the only piece, like 6 verses of Simon. So we don't know. And my guess, the way I feel about it, I feel like it was so hard, and this is why I'm so scared to be, I think it was so hard for the Pharisees to change by that point. Because they had been living, they were the big dogs, and power feels nice, and money feels nice, and they had all that. It's hard to not, to say I'm wrong, or I'm lost. It's heavy. Tim, you got a comment?
No.
All right, we're going to finish this section because we only got 3 minutes. 48, 49, and 50. Then Jesus said to her, "Your sins are forgiven." The other guests began saying among themselves, "Who is this that he even forgives sins?" Jesus said to the woman, "Your faith has saved you. Go in peace." Anything else stand out from this whole story? What stands out to y'all, or what do you think?
She wasn't baptized.
She wasn't baptized, okay. Never thought about that. What else? Somebody had their hand up in the back and then they put it down. I think they got scared. Vicky.
I think it shows how Jesus loved and cared for both. We
Oh,
focus
cool.
on how he loved her, but he was there talking to them and repeating it. And so it showed he loved both.
Yeah. And you forget about it because it's so easy to love the woman in this story. It's not easy for me to love the Pharisees. As an outside reader, I can really be like, man, what a cool story for her. Y'all are jerks. But man, we want them saved, right? They're not less important. What else?
She didn't say a word.
She didn't say a word. What does that have to mean? I mean,
There's no confession. There's no professed faith.
So she said, your faith, but that don't make sense because his closing statement is your faith has saved you. So how?
By her actions.
By her actions, right? She showed her faith in what she did by loving and doing this symbolic act, man.
Sure, there's a lot of people that are, their words don't back up their actions.
Mm-hmm.
And they, like the Pharisee, you can talk a lot, but you don't step up.
Very cool.
Adam, she did all this and had this kind of faith, and she didn't know the end of the story like we did.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what do you think about this? Because this is what I love. There's an idea of there's a Christian song that is, I don't really listen to Christian music, not that I don't like it. I just feel like it's got a lot of treble. I don't like treble. It's like, I don't know. But there's this one song called Just Breathe. Have y'all ever heard that song? And it's this song where it's like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, just breathe. You've heard that song. It's probably older. Have you heard that song, Robert? And you sing about like you're moving so fast, and then the chorus is just breathe, and it's like this peaceful, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Have y'all heard that? That part of that song, I'm just always, anytime I hear that song, I'm like, let's do that in life. Because it's a sense of peace, and the most beautiful thing I think that Jesus offers is peace. And the coolest thing is he sends that woman out, and his closing line to her, I think the last thing he says to her, yeah, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. How special is that? And that's what I want. Like, if Jesus says go in peace, I just want to go in peace. And I don't always know what that looks like, but that's what I want. I want that peace that Jesus is telling her, go, you got it. I think that's really cool. Any thoughts on that? Or what do you think? Or how can we, because I'm guessing when she left that house, she went in peace. So how do we experience that peace? Huh?
Only through him.
Only through him. Good comment. That's true. I said that's right. You're never supposed to say you're right in Bible class, but that's right. What else? Do you feel like you are feeling that peace? Like, really? Are we feeling... Maria's shaking her head. Maria, I don't know if I could say that all the time.
Like, let me tell you, like Friday I was supposed to help someone pack boxes because they were being evicted.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to her house, she didn't show up, and I was so angry, but I prayed about it,
Mm-hmm.
and God gave me the peace that I had done what I needed to do. I couldn't do anymore.
Yeah.
I left the boxes outside the house, and I left.
Yeah.
You know, and then I feel like when you spend time with God every single day, and you give it to Him, you're able to have peace. Like this woman spent time with Jesus, and when we do that, we can have peace. But when we don't spend time with Jesus,
Because if she hadn't been spending time with Jesus, she never makes it to this house. If she doesn't have been spending, she doesn't get to this house to have this moment. And it's like, God, that peace that Jesus offers is just so nice. All right, any other thoughts? I'm going to close it with this because that was I like that we got the warning sign like this. So I wrote down just some closing things. I do believe that this woman walking away after this meal, so this is our third meal. Y'all realize there was a meal involved. She didn't even enjoy the meal. She didn't eat. She was more filled than anybody leaving this meal. I feel like when she walked away, she had a sense of peace and a relationship with Jesus that I sometimes think I can only dream of at times, right? Like that sense of peace is a beautiful thing. So how do we experience? This is what I think. What do we learn? I've learned that Jesus knows our past, right? Like Jesus knows who our past is, and He sees our future. But we got to keep our eyes on Him no matter what. Because I learned a long time ago, I guess this line is simple but important. And I used to say it when I'm going to go back to that ministry that we used to work with. When you're working with inner city kids who I've had kids on Winterfest telling me, Adam, I want to stop selling weed because I want to be more like Jesus. Well, yeah, let's stop selling weed. Like I've had that conversation with high schoolers in Gatlinburg, in a cabin, after worshiping God. I'm like, yeah, not selling weed's a good start. That's pretty basic, right? But what I've learned from them, and I started saying this with them, is this. Is I think we worry about our past, but I've learned that Jesus is not worried about who we've been. He's worried about who we're becoming. And this is a woman that has a very deep past, a very ugly past probably. Jesus is not worried about that past, y'all. He's worried about the woman she's becoming. And so in life as just followers of Jesus and just trying to do our best and experience this peace, we got to take a step back and be like, Jesus is not... I don't want y'all to think I'm insignificant, your past, but Jesus doesn't care about your past. He cares about your future. He wants you to be the best you can be, a follower of Christ, and that should give you some peace. And that's the end of class. Thank y'all.